Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's workshop. I'm Dr. Ann Dranitsaris with today's episode of Relationship Live featuring the ISFP. We're hosting Relationship Empowerment Month, bringing you insights and tips for each of the 16 personality types and 8 striving styles. As you'll see by turning into each episode, no two of the personality types are the same, nor do they behave the same in relationships. Similarities, but not the same. But when we understand the predominant needs and the drivers of behavior of each of the styles, we're so much better in terms of tuning into what they need, meeting their needs, not reacting to their behavior or thinking it should be more like ours. And the very best of all, what you'll get out of tuning into all of these 16 episodes is that you'll find out in one of the episodes about your striving style and personality type. So let's get started with the ISFP. That's the introverted feeling with extroverted sensing. These people are very different from their INTP counterparts, both in the striving style system. We think of and identify them as the artist striving style with a predominant need to be creative. That need to be creative to create a life of originality, of harmony, of beauty in all things, where things are holistic and there's no separation between the heavens and the earths, and there's such an idealizing that goes on. But it's very different when the personality type uses their extroverted sensing function as opposed to their extroverted intuitive function to gather information. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about what some of those differences are. And you get the flavor when you listen to both of these, about information about both of these styles, you get that flavor of how different they actually are. Introverted intuition with sensing, they tend to be much more realistic and pragmatic and don't quite have their head up into the heavens as much as their INFP counterpart. But let's just talk about the ISFP because they're a really standalone style. They're beautiful souls. They have the soul of an artist and a tactician, meaning that they put their art into very fine work. And they're very easy to get along with people. They're very open-minded and willing to go with the flow. There's a soft, fluid manner with these people, but don't forget they have a very strong sense of personal values. Introverted feeling is their first function, and their values inform them of what is right and what is wrong for them in just about everything that they do. They're idealists and they'll do whatever it takes to protect and live by their values. And they're really, really loyal to their principles. You think about the introverted thinking type that I've talked about in terms of them having their own inner governance structure. Well, this is the same for the introverted feeling, which what it does is it gives us that inner guidelines or inner values that we must adhere to in order to feel whole, in order to feel perfect, and be in and live in that alignment and harmony with that, and sometimes to the exclusion of other people. They would just rather let others be. Again, it's that live and let live sort of approach that they take that makes them so very easy to get along with. And if you're in a relationship with an ISFP, you know how they value their independence and having their own space above all else. So let's get started with some things that you really need to know in terms of the relationship style of the ISFP. very lovable, creative people with a unique approach that makes them easy to get to know. You'll know their values and you'll know their ideals because they live by them. And because they're so holistic in their approach, whatever they create and whatever they value, they have a hard time depersonalizing it. And so even a comment or a difference of opinion can feel crushing and feel critical to the ISFP. They're very gentle souls, and they stand by their values, which can make them feel very stubborn and unyielding and inflexible at times. But that's not really how they do life overall. Most of the time, it is that live and let live, and let's just go with the flow, being very accepting of everyone, as long as you don't try and make me wrong, diminish me in any way, or tell me who I should be and how I should live my life. So one thing to note about them is that they do struggle with communication, even though they're incredibly expressive in other ways. They tend to keep their emotions to themselves because they 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 feel things in such a big way internally that they don't know how to, bring these feelings down and put them into these little words. And so they sort of get choked up in their throat because no way of saying what they feel will ever do it justice. That's their perfectionism speaking. And so what they can do is they can leave other people not knowing where they stand with them or how others feel, and they can actually appear somewhat secretive. Just they're very internal people. They are introverted, and this reluctance to share, or this fear or discomfort of sharing because their words won't match their feelings, can sometimes make them feel unapproachable, especially to those who are more comfortable with sharing their feelings and putting them into words. And it's really important to understand that just because the ISFPs don't talk about their emotions as much as other personality types, it doesn't mean that they're not feeling anything. As I said, it's large. Their feelings can consume them and often overwhelm them. They may feel it so intensely that they have to physically remove themselves from the environment. And so they do best when they're expressing how they feel, using other forms of self-expression, music, art, movement, anything that they can do to put into another form that more captures what it is that they're actually feeling. And this is where they can be most comfortable, where they really let their feelings flow without having to worry about finding the right word to demonstrate what exactly it is that they feel. And this can make it hard for other people to understand how intense their emotions are, which can lead them to being misunderstood or feeling misunderstood in their relationships, because to them, their feelings are so large, they can't understand why other people don't just feel what they're feeling. So it's also really worth noting that ISFPs tend to be very private people in general. It's not just that they're introverted, because many introverted personality types are quite comfortable sharing what they feel and what they think. But these people don't like sharing too much about themselves, even with the people that they're really close to. And it's not because they don't trust people, but to them, sharing is like giving away independence, like a little piece at a time. And despite being labeled as passive and uninvolved, because they can sometimes hold themselves on the outside of a group and marching to the beat of their own drum as they do have that need to be free to pursue whatever moves them. That's that extroverted sensing function. Their second function is all about that need to be spontaneous. And they'll adapt really well in chaotic situations, finding practical solutions that alleviate any crisis. And they're compassionate and selfless at the same time as great problem solvers. And so that ability to be empathetic and know what it will take to solve another person's problem. And they do it all in silence, perhaps even not communicating to the other person that they are going to take care of them. They really do tend to be selective in what they share with others and only revealing thoughts and feelings on a need to know basis. But once you understand them, once you really know how they flow, then their reservedness, their holding back on saying things until asked, it no longer is something that you take personally. You simply recognize that this is a part of them. And if you really need to know something from them, then you'll have to ask them and let them know how important it is that they tell you. There's so many lovely things I could tell you about the ISFP. And if you want to know more, please check out nowfixyourrelationship.com, where you'll find out more information about the ISFP and other personality resources. But this workshop is not for just learning general information about the ISFP. This workshop is for anyone who is struggling because they're in a relationship with an ISFP and they don't know how to reach them, or for ISFPs who want to better understand themselves and why relationships can be challenging and difficult for them. Most of us have not had any training in how to do relationships. We come out of childhood being informed on how to do relationships based on our personality type, the relationships that we've experienced through our parents, what we've been told, our social groups, and all of that. And so what we do is we start slipping into roles. And most of the roles that we slide into as adults in relationships are codependent, where they're very, very role dependent so that we get our need to be, whatever need it is, our predominant need, we get our need met by compromising ourselves and using our persona to be in the relationship with the other person, because we're afraid that if we fully come out and be ourselves, that we'll somehow be rejected or abandoned the same way we were in our childhood, or that we're not doing it right, or we're not conforming, because hey, especially in our teens and 20s and 30s and even into our 40s, we're all about judging ourselves and judging our relationship and comparing ourselves to others' relationships and how they're doing it, instead of coming at relationships more from that need satisfaction. And so it makes sense that all of the personality types have a codependent style. They also have an imposter syndrome that they pull out so that, because they believe their imposter is much more lovable than they are themselves. Go figure. But in talking about the ISFP, we're going to talk about how they bond first, because we all bond in relationships. That's the way our brains attach. And our hope is that we come out of childhood with a secure attachment. Most of us seem to be coming out these days with an insecure, anxious attachment, or one can have an avoidant attachment as well, or a chaotic attachment. There's all kinds of different ways of attaching in relationship. But when the ISFP bonds in a relationship in a codependent way, they tend to be the submissive, silent partner in the relationship, taking a back seat in decision making and allowing their partner to take the dominant role. When it comes to adult responsibilities like finances, planning, and problem solving, they let their partner take over because it doesn't really resonate with their brain to do that type of thing. It's not that they're incapable, that they prefer to focus on their inner world and whatever is going on in their emergent nature. I want to show up in my life today and do X. I don't want to be confined or restricted, by anybody or anything or anyone else's agenda. So I'll just let my partner take care of all of these things, and I will love them deeply for it. We all have a bargain that we're drawing in a codependent relationship. So it's not that the ISFP comes into a relationship and is acting very entitled and wanting to be taken care of. They pull their weight in the relationship, but not through those tangible financial those types of responsibilities. But this can make their partner feel like they're taking care of a child, and it's not really the case. It's just the ISFP way of being present in their inner sanctuary, whether while their partner handles the practical things in their lives. They really do have other ways of ensuring that they take care of their partner and make them happy. They're all about making their partner happy and making their partner's life easier. They're content with letting their partner be in charge because it serves them. They then get to go with the flow. They need to have a deep, meaningful connection with their partner, and they invest their entire being into creating a perfect relationship, a relationship that's really special and unique. And so you think about holistic, from that introverted feeling function where they just want everything to be harmonious between two people, and they're very intolerant of conflict. And so that fusing with their partner means that they're the submissive half. They allow their partner to take care, and they just make everything work and adapt as the relationship grows and goes along. This personality type, they have a very complex personality, both sensitive and passionate, and able to connect at a very, very deep level. They crave that authenticity in their relationship, and they want to be known and understood profoundly. They can feel deeply wounded if you don't understand them, even though they might not be talking coherently, frustrated with themselves, but they'll still keep trying. So great is their need to be understood. And they tend to choose partners who appear to be in control in their lives and often put their partner's needs ahead of their own. Again, that lovely ability of theirs to flow and adapt as long as they get to do their own thing. But this selfless behavior can sometimes leave them feeling devalued or victimized, which can create tension in their relationship when their partner is excessively dominant and begins to treat them somewhat like a child. And it is that difference in terms of maintaining the spirit of the child, that lovely, wonderful archetypal energy that we can all have, that sense of play, that sense of wonder and curiosity that the ISFP brings to the table. But if they have partners who judge them for not being, or consider them not mature because they like to play, they like to emerge, that they're not planful, if they have a partner that judges them, it can be a very harmful and devaluing experience for them that they tend not to tolerate very, very long. So the all of the wonderful things, again, that I could tell you about the ISFP, but today I'm talking about the challenges that are experienced in relationships. And I'm going to give you three of the top ones. The partners in relationships with the ISFP talk about as their frustrations, and this is even if they're in a partnership or have a spouse who is also an introvert. They can even complain about the ISFP's inability or refusal to communicate, because they get so focused on their inner thoughts or emotions or making it perfect before they bring it out of themselves that they don't share. And their partner can feel that the ISFP, they're just not present in the relationship, which makes it really difficult for partners who want more engagement from their significant other. And ISFPs aren't intentionally neglecting their partner and not intentionally not communicating or meeting their needs. They simply process and express their emotions in a different way. So and if they do it in a different way, that medium needs to be accepted as their primary way. As well, they may not have the words, but they may express their love and affection in a more tactile fashion than other personality types. And knowing the love language of your partner, there is a book on that too, but knowing the need of the ISFP in a relationship, they put into physical form their feelings, and it's up to their partner to really decipher it. That doesn't mean we let them off the hook for not communicating. Of course it doesn't. So one person in a relationship never has to do all of the heavy lifting. But what you can't do is you can't take it personally and think this is a sign that they don't like you or they don't love you. If you're in a relationship with an ISFP, it's important to understand it is not about or anyway a reflection of their feelings toward you. They have a different way of showing their love, and one of the things that you can do to bridge the gap is to communicate your needs to your partner in a way that's clear and direct. And another way is to show an interest in their hobbies and passions. They love to be creative and pursue their interests, and they'll appreciate a partner who supports and encourages them. With that question, and this is it. This is the question you need to ask. What emotions are you expressing through this dance? What emotions are you expressing through this painting, through this poem? Help me decipher what your language of expression is, because it's not clear to me. By asking that question, you demonstrate to your ISFP partner curiosity about them, that you really want to understand them, and it positions you so much better than if you were to say, oh my God, will you just tell me how you feel about me? And I'm feeling insecure in our relationship. Why can't you ever tell me what you feel? That type of emotional complaining that can shame your ISFP partner into not talking at all. They go into their inner sanctuary and won't come back out again. The second challenge that partners have with the ISFP is that they can become overly dependent, because it's fun to have someone to depend on. He'll take care of all of the business side of things, and I'll just do all the play side of things. And I'll let them make all of the decisions, so I never have to risk ever being wrong. But this can make their partner feel like they have to act like a parent, and that they're very alone, and that there's that separation between church and state, as it were, that this is your territory and this is your territory, and we can never merge and blend them together in a meaningful way. So this dynamic can be challenging for both partners because it creates feelings of resentment and frustration. The ISFP can feel like they're not understood or appreciated, while their partner feels like they're being taken advantage of. And the fear of rejection that ISFPs experience is also a contributing factor to their passive nature. They feel like they're not capable of handling certain responsibilities because it doesn't come easy to them. And so they defer to their partner to avoid making mistakes or being criticized by a partner. And this just adds to that cycle of dependency that's so difficult to break. So tips for partners: stay objective and resist the impulse to rescue the ISFP or enable them. You have to encourage them to communicate their needs and feelings and support them by doing things with them. And so we'll take finances, for example, because that's often a big one with the artists. They'll delay, the ho-hum nature of the details of dealing with finances. And so do it with them. Take them through a learning steps of learning where you're actually, I'm going to do it with you. I'm going to show you how to do it. And as I do it with you, I'll be explaining it. And then you'll do it the next time and I'll be with you and I'll be, you can practice, but you don't have to do it perfectly. And then I'll do that again. I'll do it until you don't need me with you. And then the next time you can fly solo. It's not one and done. It's not, you should be able to do this. You're an adult now. You should be able to do your finances. No shoulds in the story. You help them and support them as they will help and support you. And always, always encourage the ISFP to be more independent and take on tasks that they do feel capable of handling. Don't just do things because you can do it faster and better and easier with less mistakes. You're in this together, not a competition. The third and final um, issue that partners have is that these people are so conflict avoidant. You might not know where you stand with them. And the artist style, the ISFP and the INFP, what they will do is they will become increasingly silent during conflict. Conflict for them triggers a fear of rejection. They take it personally. They somehow believe that if they were more, if they did something better, if they were a better partner, there wouldn't be a conflict. However, by avoiding conflict, of course, the problems just get bigger. And this silence can be very upsetting for their partner because they have no idea what's going on the outside. Of course, what the ISFP is saying is everything's fine, everything's okay, that's great. But in your gut, you're feeling, oh, something's wrong, but they won't tell you what's wrong. They're afraid of saying, this is going on and it's hurting me or it's upsetting me, or I don't know how to talk about this without creating upset in you. And that's the reality of it. And so they withdraw instead of not stepping out into the conflict. And while they have this way, because they like harmony, of always working to be on the same page as their partner and share the same values. But if their partner's not in agreement with them, they first go to themselves and think, I must be wrong. That unworthiness that runs so deep in them, like their partner INFP, they're constantly in search of their fatal flaw, thinking that there is something wrong with them, trying and trying and trying harder and harder to be perfect, as opposed to doing some shifting to the left brain where we resolve issues, we don't create emotions. Again, with the need to be creative and introverted feeling, creating emotional states that often overwhelm them is what they will do with undirected creative energy. So, tip for a partner: resolve issues, don't focus on their emotions. And while submitting to the will of their partner is a way that they have of resolving conflict, partners of ISFPs soon catch on that they're only saying that they agree and they're actually giving in. The result of their doing this causes the ISFP to internalize the conflict and direct all of those bad feelings at themselves. And while it might feel like you're always getting your way with your ISFP partner, it really doesn't work for you in the long term, because they're going to go further and further and further into themselves until you can no longer reach them. Or they can have these uncharacteristic blowouts because they can't hold their feelings in any longer. They'll launch into emotional tirades that end up exhausting them. I've known artists that have stayed in bed for like 3 days just crying unconsolably, and their partner has no idea how to talk to them or how to reach them or how to get them to stop. So make sure you don't let them hide out. Keep them focused on the issues, not on how they're feeling about the conflict. You can resolve issues, but you can't resolve emotions, which is a lesson you'll have to drive home over and over and over again with the ISFP. So that's all for our ISFP workshop today. I hope you've enjoyed finding out a little bit more about some of the challenges that partners experience in relationship with the ISFP. And don't forget, each and every one of us benefits when we understand the needs of our partner and don't expect our partners to behave like we do, that we don't judge them using ourselves as the yardstick for relationship behavior. We've chosen a partner and we've fallen in love with a partner for who they are. Trying to change them or get them to be more like us so that we'll feel better about ourselves, that's our agenda. We need to learn to work with the energies of each of the styles. And if you want to find out more about how you can do that, you want to get one of the relationship toolkits for the artist striving style or the ISFP or any of the 16 personality types. We've got them all. Video training on all things ISFP, all available on nowfixyourrelationship.com. There's so much more to be learned, and that's the reason why we're just giving you the tip of the iceberg in this month's 16 personality types for our Relationship Empowerment Month. Join us tomorrow when you'll find out about the ISTP, very different from the ISFP. We call it, this is another one of the intellectual striving styles with some tips on how to deal with them in relationship and romance. Remember, we've got lots of resources for you. So if you can't make it to our live Facebook or LinkedIn show, go on over to nowfixyourrelationship.com and access all of the posts and recordings, as well as checking out the schedule for the remainder of the month and for next month. And as always, if you're experiencing relationship conflict, don't hesitate. Don't wait until your relationship is on the verge of breakup to try and rescue it. Reach out, contact us for a consultation. We're here to help. We've got over 65 years of combined experience between my partner Heather and myself in working with people and relationship issues. So reach out today. And as always, I'm Dr. Dranitsaris, thanking you for joining us today for all things ISFP, and I look forward to chatting with you in our next episode. Bye for now.